Hi, glad you're back for part 2 of this video. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, perhaps you should do that first. The link's in the description. We talked about how important it is to have good vocabulary. You want to be able to communicate clearly, precisely, and efficiently. You also want to know the right vocabulary for different social environments. When you're reading, if you keep running into words you don't know, you won't be able to understand the content very well. Oh, but learning new words is so time-consuming and frustrating. Well, maybe you're making it too difficult, so stick around and let's talk about vocabulary learning habits that can make it a little easier and more enjoyable. Hi, welcome to Snap Language Learner. My name is Mark Franco. Before we get started, remember that many Snap Language Learner videos have links to supplemental materials. They could be articles about a topic on the Snap Language website, outlines, comprehension questions, extra practice, and things like that. So always check for links to supplemental materials in our video descriptions. A good reason to learn new vocabulary is to improve reading comprehension. Ironically, one way people learn vocabulary is by reading a lot. You see, when you see a word for the first time, you often kind of understand what it means because it makes sense in the passage. Other times you just have to look it up. But either way, you'll probably forget that word very quickly. But when you read something else, you may see the word again, and you'll probably remember it. The more you read, the more often you'll see the word again and again. After seeing that word a few times, you won't forget it anymore. So the more you read, the more opportunities you have to see certain words again. That's why people who read a lot tend to have good vocabulary. You should always read to understand what the writer wants you to learn, so when you read, focus on understanding the content, not the vocabulary. But you should read often. And if you're not used to reading a lot, you should start by reading materials that are not too difficult for you. Otherwise, it'll be frustrating because you'll keep running into new words all the time. But they shouldn't be too easy either. Otherwise, you won't see any new words. Find materials that you're comfortable with, but just above your reading level. This way, you'll be able to understand what you're reading, you'll enjoy learning something, and you'll see some new words too. Some people underline new words, and after they've finished reading, they go over the new vocabulary. If you want, you can start a word list. Look up the new words in a dictionary, add them to your list, and study the list until you've memorized all the words. We'll talk about some vocabulary learning techniques in a future video. For now, we're only focusing on creating good vocabulary learning habits. Things you can do that don't require too much effort so you can focus on reading to understand the content and learn vocabulary at the same time. If you're not used to reading very often, you also need to create a habit. First, figure out what you're interested in. You should write a list of your interests. So write down as many things as you can come up with, then go over your list and identify your interests. Now you can start reading about these topics. You're already interested in them, so it'll be easier to read about them. But you have to create a habit. If you do it once or twice and never do it again, it's not a habit. Think about a schedule that you can keep. For example, you can read 10 or 15 minutes every morning or after dinner. Make some time in your busy schedule. Decide when you're going to do it, then do it. Stick to your schedule for a while, no matter what. You can even set up an alarm on your smartphone to remind you. Every day, at this time, you stop what you're doing and spend 10 to 15 minutes reading something for pleasure. After a while, you may notice that you just do it because it's a habit. Then you can start reading a little longer than 10 or 15 minutes, and you can start reading other subjects. You may surprise yourself and start reading about topics you didn't know you could enjoy. But how can you find things to read? There are many ways you can do that. First, you can go to your local public library and ask a librarian for help. Explain to them what you're doing and tell them you're looking for things to read. I'm sure they'll be happy to help you. If you're a student and you're afraid you may not be able to explain this very well, check the link in the description called Letter to the Librarian. Give this letter to the librarian so he or she will know exactly how to help you. You can also find a lot of online materials. Search the internet for your interests. See if you can find websites that have a lot of information about your interests. For example, if you'd like to read about travel, there are many travel blogs you can read. But let's remember why you're doing this. You want to create the habit of reading so you can learn information and, at the same time, expand your vocabulary. Don't forget, you should always read to learn what the author wants you to know about the topic. Don't get so focused on the vocabulary that you forget to understand the content. Another way to start improving your vocabulary right away is very, very simple. Be curious about words. In my experience teaching English, I've noticed two types of students when it comes to vocabulary. For some students, when I teach them a new word, they go, "Oh, uh-huh." Other students go, "Oh, They repeat the word. I can tell they're thinking about it. They're making sure they'll remember it. Some even write the word down in the back of their notebooks. If you're curious about words, you motivate yourself. You want to learn new words. You want to remember and use them. You might say, "Nah, whatever." Well, if you feel that way, it's okay, but you probably won't learn very well, so you need to find the right motivation. So these are two ways to get you started learning new vocabulary. Create a habit of reading. Identify your interests. Set a time during the week to read 10 to 15 minutes. Read things that are not too easy, but not too difficult. Make it fun, but stick to your reading schedule. You also need to have the right motivation. If you have a bad attitude about learning new words, you probably won't be very successful. Just be curious about words. Don't ignore them. Try to remember the new words as you learn them. In a future video, we'll look at some specific techniques to learn vocabulary. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click the like button. Also, share the video with other people that you think might enjoy it. To know when we post new videos, subscribe to Snap Language Learner and hit the bell button. And until the next time, thanks for stopping by and watching this video. Read for fun, read to learn.